Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent. It is Thursday, November 12th. In this episode, the international break is upon us and doom has set in. But we have the U.S. men's national team with a big test versus Mexico in its home state of Ohio. But first, Mike, what do you have to say about this strange World Cup schedule that you believe is going to destroy English football?
So I've been, complaining about it since 2010 when I was leading the charge of the American Outlaws. I don't know if I was with them yet, but it was clear and present that, this was going to upset the equilibrium of world football.
Let's take a step back.
Fast forward 12 years.
But the World Cup, for the first time ever in a, to be fair, known and clearly corrupt bidding process that literally destroyed FIFA and put 3 men in jail, but they still kept a World Cup, is going to have the World Cup in the winter for the first time.
Yeah.
And it is very disruptive.
I'll say this. Looking at it from a U.S. men's national team perspective, there is some thought that you could argue that it actually benefits the U.S. I'll get into that in a second. But looking at the schedule on the whole, it came out today. We're literally a year out from the World Cup, which should be exciting. Normally,
literally a year.
Exciting.
A year from today, almost.
The reason why it's less than exciting is because it is forcing all of the Premier League schedule came out, but all of the other European leagues, and if you listen to the last episode, you'll know why, are going to follow suit because the Premier League moves and everybody else follows. But they're effectively going to start earlier. They're going to stop right around this time next year. And they're going to stop for 6 weeks. And that's going to go from, I think the dates were November 13th through like December 16th. Now that's a problem in and of itself. But the way that I see this is if you're, let's say, Harry Kane, or you're Phil Foden, or you're any of the star English players, or realistically any star international player playing in Europe who is going to be at the World Cup, you're going to be playing a week earlier, so you're going to have a shorter offseason. You're going to be playing mostly 2 games a week because you're probably going to be in Champions League or Europa League. You're going to be playing that many games in a short amount of time. And the biggest problem is that there's 8 days between the stop, if you will, of at least the Premier League. That's the only one we know so far. But again, it's clear that they'll all pretty much be the same, to the first games of the World Cup. 8 days. Now, that they'll be in mid-season form. They'll be perfectly fine unless they're not, right? So there is a significant injury risk that is in play here that I think the players in October and probably earlier than that too are going to be mindful of. This is not a thing that exists often. Playing for your country in a World Cup is a privilege, it is an honor, and it is very, very rare. Right, only the absolute tippy top of the 1% get to do it cycle after cycle after cycle. Unless you're an American.
For some guys, they're done. I mean, like Harry Kane, this might be his last one, right?
Exactly.
He's 29.
Okay, think of it.
Is he going to come back at 33?
That's a great example.
No,
in an England side that looks, all signs say they're going to have, quality behind him. So if you're the Harry Kane, this is his, 2018 was too, but this is his best last shot, really bringing it home, right? Bringing a medal home for England. Are you going to think about how Harry Kane plays the game, right? He's always getting kicked. He's always getting,
right now, badly.
And all that stuff. But like he's always, he gets the shit. He gets knee injuries, ankle injuries, stepped on, fouled, all that shit, right? Week in and week out. In October next year, do you think he's really going to be getting stuck in for Spurs? And I'm using him as the example, but example could make over the span of Europe, right? I think that in addition to this being completely fucking ludicrous and spanning a season, which is going to feel so out of sorts, some of the best things about the World Cup is that it's in the summer, and that it's exciting, and that there's nothing really the fuck else going on. right? You're going to have every other sport in the world is going to be competing with. It has its own. Not that it's not the biggest international competition. It's bigger than the Olympics. All that shit.
But it's the stretch run of the NFL. You think Americans are going to pay attention to it? No fucking chance.
No. And
yeah, the World Cup is about outdoor and in the summer. Americans aren't going to be standing outside freezing their asses off watching screens. No fucking way.
Well, and that's the thing, right? You see that. I mean, look, go back to just the Euro, right? And the box park videos of all the beer going up, right? The fields with the TVs and this big screens.
It's just not going to happen.
You're not going to have that. You're not going to have that. So you're missing you're straight away missing out on a lot of the beauty, because the in-stadium atmosphere, you don't really get much. It's almost like it's a Super Bowl atmosphere inside the stadium, because you have fans of both teams for sure, but it's not like there's an overwhelming amount, right? There's
going to be
a lot of neutrals
people
too.
Getting wasted and going to games in Qatar. It's not Brazil. It's not.
Oh, I'm not going to Qatar. I'm going to be wasted here.
Yeah,
no, I'm not going to Qatar, but I'll be wasted.
It's a disaster, but I don't agree with you. I don't think that. Let me take a step back. I don't think that in the Premier League, I don't know about other leagues, the Premier League, maybe I'm in like this Premier League exceptionalism. I think we're going to hear this TV contract come out. The bids are coming back in. So NBC, CBS, and ESPN are putting second bids in. So the bids are going to come back. The Premier League is going to be washed with cash again. Okay. They're going to spend again. I don't think there's anyone left to buy at this point. Sure. But the competitive nature of the league is that they're going to come out and you have to play to win. The Premier League is not a league that you can take your foot off the gas. It simply doesn't happen in England, ever. Never has.
I think that this is so unprecedented that this is going. What do the players see that money immediately? Nope. Are they all going to sign new contracts because ESPN bought the fucking US rights? No. So,
but it's the competition. Additionally, it's the competition of the players underneath them. You cannot mail it in. Your spot will be taken.
Okay, and that's a good argument, right? I agree with that. You can't all of a sudden 3 months before the tournament look like a bag of shit. I totally understand.
Like MLS, sure, no relegation, shit league. They could shut the fucking league down for all they care.
See, you're looking at it. You're close. It's not from the team perspective. Fuck the clubs. This doesn't matter to the clubs at all. I'm looking at it to a man, to a player, to an international star, right? And maybe the fringe players, maybe those will make.
You cannot, as a brand, as a player's individual brand, be seen as mailing it in the Premier League for the fucking World Cup. You can't.
Let's go back to Harry Kane. No, let's go back to Harry Kane. The World Cup starts in a week, right? This year. Is Harry Kane leading the line for England?
Yes, because Southgate's a moron.
Yeah, he is. No, because he's the best fucking player England has, and it isn't even close. Okay? So here's the deal. The nailed on will be nailed on. It is close,
and he's not. It's okay.
It's not close. He will be nailed on. Okay? So what I'm telling you is,
because England doesn't have any options, honestly.
Oh, Christ almighty. This is ridiculous. Go. You know what? You know where you belong? With Shaka and those schmucks on fucking ESPN. Worthless. Because
he has 1 goal in 10 games. He's been terrible for the whole season.
He has 12 goals for Spurs this year. Okay? Against teams that are better than England would play in the fucking World Cup. So I don't want to hear it. But nonetheless, the point is that the best players are going to take their foot off the gas because they do not want to risk something that may not ever happen again. The Premier League is old hat. The Premier League
you're using the term best players. You cannot be the best players and mail it in.
Yeah,
you won't be the best. Those players that are at that level that see the World Cup as their game cannot play at lower levels, right? They can't take it down. That is not what makes them the best, is that every week is important and they do play on and they give it 100,000%. Harry Kane comes back early from injuries when he shouldn't. Harry Kane plays games in the Europa League.
He's not going to do that shit. He's not going to do that shit
because he always does.
He's not going to.
And it's not a Harry
Dude,
Kane. It's like this is the nature and
he's
competitiveness of great players. They play.
he's the No, this is my fucking point. They have broken world football. They will not because of this, right? Your point is valid because for the entirety of the last 90 years, 90
It's
is
been in the
about
summer.
now.
1930.
It's been in the summer. It's been different. It's been totally separated. You have 8 days, not 6 weeks. Okay,
Yeah.
an ankle injury you can heal from in 6 weeks. If you
No. If you're injured, you're out. You missed the whole thing.
That's what I'm fucking telling you. The other thing I'm curious about is when is the rosters going to be required to be put in? Because usually it's about 15 to 30 days beforehand. Can't do that.
No, that part I don't know either.
The whole thing is a disaster.
The one thing is like you're looking at it from an individual perspective. If the players do indeed have power, and I think they do. I think the FIFA and the UEFA institutions have abused the players.
Of course they have.
There is a nod to players, and the PR machine of those institutions can get the press behind them forever. The players, especially in the Premier League, should just be like, we're not going. But they won't because it's nationalism and you can't even do it. But they do have the power. It just takes Messi, Ronaldo, Harry Kane. It doesn't even take a lot of guys. It takes 15 guys, and that cup will cease. Or they'll play it without them, and it won't be the World Cup.
I was gonna say they'll play it without them at this point.
Of course, they have to. There's too much money.
Yeah, there's too much money.
But it will be this. Let's mark it down. Camera and record. Let's save it. What's the time? I'm going to wait till the 12th minute and say what I have to say. Okay? 12. This will be the worst World Cup in history with the lowest ratings, with the lowest fan participation. Period. End of story. It will be.
I don't think that's even close.
Bad.
Yeah.
Awful. It's going to be as bad as Italia 90, which for England was famous, but was actually shit. Guys getting kicked, riots, the lowest goal scored per game. It was a disaster. In fact, they fucking changed the rules after it and got rid of the back pass. So anyway, speaking of world-class players who would be in a World Cup, we do have our friend, Mr. Steven Gerrard, taking over at Aston Villa. That's the big news.
It is.
Steven Gerrard leaving Rangers after an undefeated season and going to Aston Villa. There has been conversation in the talk sport realm, which is basically a shit version of Mike and the Mad Dog, or a shit version of sports talk radio in England, that says
a shit version of Squeaky Bum Time.
Yeah, a shit. We go at them directly. That Rangers are a bigger club, and Steven Gerrard owed Rangers to stay for the rest of the season, and that he shouldn't take this team. Let me again look right in the camera. You people are fucking crazy. It's Scotland. He literally can't be better. He went undefeated. He can never be better than that.
He has nothing left to do there.
Right. He stopped Celtic from winning their 10 in a row. He went undefeated in a professional soccer league. It's really fucking hard. And he didn't just go there 1 year, do it and leave. He's built that team, second place, able to bring it up, get it better. And now he is taking what would you say? Is the Villa job, is that about as good a job as you're going to get?
So for a first-time Premier League manager, nobody's under any illusions about what may come next for him. Yes, it is. It's a cut-your-teeth job. It's a, hey, I belong in this league job, right? But his first 5 games, starting in 9 days.
Games.
Brighton at home. Palace away.
Tough game.
Manchester City at home. Leicester at home. Liverpool in 30 days' time at Anfield.
What does he need from that? Did you say 5 games?
5 games. That's 15 points. I'd say he needs 5. Like he needs to beat Palace away. If he beats Palace away and loses the other 4 games, especially with the side that he has right now, in the form they're in, fine.
I think he's got to get Brighton. He's got to get Brighton. I love Brighton, but beating Brighton's
way better than them right now.
right now, but not talent-wise. Villa's better.
How much can he do in 9 days?
Here's the thing that I think
8 days.
Here's the thing that I think is really, really powerful that we who sort of like analytics and stuff kind of can't get around. And I use Zidane and Pep to a lesser extent as the example. When a guy like Steven Gerrard walks into that dressing room, he has an immediate level of gravitas that is beyond the scope of how good your other types of managers, how good Brendan Rodgers can never be as good in the first moment as Gerrard. Graham Potter will never be as good in those moments when Steve Gerrard walks in and says, this is how it's done. You know, I'll talk to you about fucking Istanbul. I'll talk to you about moments when it's hard. You think this is hard? Were you down 3-0 to fucking Inter? I mean, to AC Milan? No, I was. We're doing it my way. Yeah. I'm fucking Steven Gerrard, and you are a piece of shit.
And I have approved this message.
Right, and let's fucking go because I've got this. So I think there'll be a bump. I think there'll be an intimidation factor. Rangers played good stuff. Now, it's Rangers. It's Scotland. They're always going to be attacking. I think the question he's going to be for Villa is, how does he get the balance right between going, I want to attack, and this team needs a win badly.
Oh, badly.
The tough game, I think the games he'll be judged on are Brighton. Brighton and Palace. Brighton and Palace. He needs those 6. And then what are the other 3?
Oh, City, Leicester, and then Liverpool away. If you give up less than 4, you've done great at Anfield. With this side right now.
This is a team that beat Man United, not hard, but it mattered when it happened, and then lost 5 in a row. So we can't really see where are they, right? Like they had a great game against Chelsea, and then we were like, how did they lose 3 goals? It's the defense. They've got to figure out what to do with Mings. They've got to get Emi Martinez rested and back being otherworldly. He can't just be rested. Normal.
He's in fucking Argentina right now.
I know. That's the problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, we don't know anything about Aston Villa 11 games in. We walked into the season going, man, they lost Grealish, but they spent that money so well. I've said it on the show before. Emi Buendia has been just so far, let's call it what it is, a disaster signing for what they paid for him. Okay, put it this way. If a Man City or a Liverpool or a Spurs even spends 30 million on a player, hi Gio Lo Celso, and also Argentina, and he flops, that hurts, but it doesn't kill you. If Aston Villa sell Jack Grealish and they spend a third of that on a player and he doesn't come good, at least at some point this season, that is impossible to come back from, right? That is how you get relegated, right?
Yeah. So
they really need him to come good, but they've also been without Bailey. He's back in the lineup, sort of. There's something. It's
a tough job, but a good job, and we'll see.
I'm not
the man is made
of.
A good
job. I'm not saying it's not a good job, but
the flip side of it is, are they as good as we thought they were, and was it just Grealish?
Well, I'd like to challenge your. We'll get to that in a second. I'd like to challenge your when I walk into the room and I'm Steven Gerrard and I immediately command respect.
Listen, even Ole got that United team won like 14 in a row.
But Ole did it at United. If Steven Gerrard walks in the room at Aston Villa and goes, "Hey guys, what's up? I know how to do it. This is how we're gonna do it. This is my way. This is why." Blah blah blah. Do some of the guys in that room go, "Man, fuck you. You're just here to trampoline to Liverpool"?
It's a good question. It's a tricky question. Do the players just look at the clock and go, "Hey, you're here. We're a waste.
You're here to keep us up."
Now that's fair, but I keep forgetting his name. Was it Dean Smith? No.
Yes.
Yeah. Dean Smith was a through and through Villa guy. And that didn't help him either, right? Like they thought that he wouldn't go anywhere.
I think it probably gave him 2 more games than he probably deserved at the end. But
maybe.
But think about it, right? Like all the outpouring of love for him.
Yeah. Listen,
you're replacing that guy.
Yeah,
and you're not one of them.
The Villa fans are kind of like, you got rid of Dean Smith for this guy. I'm a little skeptical. They're worried. I don't know
That's
who
what
they
I'm
could have got
saying.
instead. I don't know what's going on there.
He was
I mean,
the
the
right
guy
choice.
I think of is like Chris Wilder just went to Middlesbrough. So these English kind of guys that could be at that club, guys. I know Dean Smith sort of lifted them. They were really in a nether region where like, what's going to happen to Villa, and he turned it around. Sort of brought they're very much we've got our club back. Can Gerrard pick that up, get a hold of Buendia, and be like, you're like me, a fiery guy, a guy who gets reds. Can he try and run the show, get on the ball more, and start to link up with Bailey? Those guys need to find the shot creation that Grealish was doing by himself. I mean, it was uncanny. But Grealish was everywhere. He'd come deep. He'd take the ball from the midfield all the way across. He'd go stand in the corner and he'd get fouled, or he'd just keep going. So we'll see. I have faith in Gerrard. I really like him. The one I don't have faith in is the rumored link of Lampard to Norwich. I'm like, first of all, I don't think Lampard is a good coach. Second of all, Norwich are going down. Like, if you take that job,
that's a bad marriage.
You
for both sides.
are going to what? Is it just to develop Oliver Skip? I mean, who your other guy? Sorry, Billy Gilmore, because maybe
not my
Lampard,
guy. That's a Chelsea guy. Yeah,
right. Maybe Lampard has some connection to Gilmore, and he's going to kick that on. I thought Steven Weber, who's the one, who's the, for lack of a better word, the like Daryl Morey of the Premier League, because he's actually out front. He's a weird GM who's out front. Like, he actually does the talking outside
you talked about
Farka. This gives me pause, because I'm like, or is it media driven that just like, oh, Frank's the next guy and Lampard is there, and so Stevie G Lampard, let's make that narrative happen so they can both come into the league again together and go against each other, right?
Well, look, that doesn't help. That doesn't help Norwich stay up, right?
Right, but the media makes that story.
Yeah.
But if I'm Norwich, I don't touch Lampard. I don't think he's a good. Sorry, Tuchel doing what he did at Chelsea made Lampard look a terrible coach. And he was okay at Chelsea, but what Tuchel did made Lampard look terrible.
Well, what Lampard did made Lampard look terrible also.
No, but he was. I don't think anyone thought that he was a bad coach, but I think Tuchel made him look bad.
I thought he was a bad coach, but I agree with both, right? Like, I think that's yeah. And
the first season was okay, right? He did the transfer ban. He plays Tammy. He plays the babies. You know, he takes one for the team, basically. They market it as like, oh, Frank's here. We don't have a transfer. We lost Hazard and we still made the top four. What a good job Frank did. They made the top four on 64 points, by the way.
So yeah, I mean, the question is,
I wouldn't
what do we
touch
do
that
for Norwich here?
Job. They're fucked.
Yeah, but what? Okay, they had a philosophy that was pretty for a shit team, which we always loved. I had a soft spot for Norwich because they would go for it. They would play the game, right? We talked about this a lot in the show.
Yeah,
but you've just fired your coach who had that philosophy, so you
literally couldn't win in the Premier League.
I understand, and that's fine. That's fine. But now you have some soul searching to do. Now you have to figure out, what are you now, right? Mm-hmm. Are you going to try and be, who realistically, the best choice for them is at this moment to try and stay up in the Premier League? It's Big Sam, right? Like,
if they want to do that, I don't think that they want to do that.
I don't think they want to do that either. But do they want to, right? Like, do they want to get? If they wanted to continue kicking on at the similar philosophy, you could argue they shouldn't have fired Farka, right?
You could argue that. It is also, by the way, are you ready for the out of left field call? I'm going to try and say his name. It brings us back to our friends who took on Roma. The coach of Bode Glimt, Kojito Nutson, is perhaps an option to take over for Norwich, the two-time Erlestasen Coach of the Year, who's taken Bode Glimt and won the Norwegian League out of nowhere.
I think.
Is he an innovator? Is he the kind of guy that Norwich would take? You bet your fucking ass he is.
I think now that I realize uh
I'm pulling
this
some
is
Norwegian
probably what we
football.
were getting shit for punching down on. And you know what? We were. And it was funny. And I'm not sorry about it because you know what? It was coming from a place of love because you beat Mourinho.
Yeah, the bear fuckers. Get the bear fuckers coach.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the play
But
the who was Tottenham almost signed and then Paratici pulled the plug on it. I don't know why I can't think of his name right now. Before Nuno, he was Roma's coach last year.
Fonseca. He's everywhere.
Paulo Fonseca. He would be, but again, if you're Paulo Fonseca, why would you take the Norwich job?
No, you don't
right?
take the Norwich job. That's why you get in Knudsen and you get him out of Burda after his his
masterclass,
his 8-2 on aggregate against the greatest coach of the last 30 years. TM trademark by himself, by Mourinho. Respect. 1, 2, 3, more than everyone in the league. That was one of the greatest fucking things. But I would roll a dice on a guy like that. And the guy the guy from Norway, Knudsen, that's the kind of guy you take a chance on because for him, going to the Premier League is awesome. He's like, I'll take Norwich. I'm just going to be on fucking TV. This is going to be great. Mike's camera is gone, but I will continue with my
I'm back.
thought of.
I'm back.
I will continue with Kojito. I can't even say his name. Kojito Nutson, who is the coach of Bode Glimt in the what the hell is it called? The Elite.
It's the Bear Fucker League.
Yeah. I am, by the way, going to be in Bear Country in Sweden next week.
Let's talk about that.
I am flying on Saturday to Stockholm.
Nice.
And I'm going to develop a syndrome and I'm never coming back.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm petrified. There's no football, but I am going to try and watch Scotland play somewhere.
Oh, that's right. The entire time you're there is the international break, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
so Sweden already lost.
So for those who haven't seen, and I have been trying to bully him into this, Laurent's going to be in Sweden, and I keep telling him, his job is sending him there, right? You're getting a free flight to Sweden. Go to Manchester. Just fucking tack on a vacation on the end of it and just be like, fuck it.
Well, I was, and I have a vacation booked for Palm Springs. I'll have to try and go see John Hanford do comedy, and I will throw things at him just for
Oh, please do.
I will definitely do that.
Oh,
he hates me already, which makes it even funnier.
Oh, he loves you. He
doesn't. He loves me. But John Hanford,
he loves you. He hates himself. John Hanford of Top's lore. Very few people listening to the show will know who that is, but that's okay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Many moons ago.
We've got our managers. Their other news is Pogba is now Paul Pogba of the bench of Manchester United, sitting right next to Johnny Van Der Beek, is now really on the bench next to Johnny Van Der Beek. He's out until after the new year, and the footage is he's literally practicing fucking taking free kicks, and he blows out his goddamn thigh muscle. So
which, by the way, let me be very clear about that. That shit is possible because I did a workout yesterday. I ran 2 fucking miles and I was running with the dog who you might have heard in the background, who I'm going to fucking beat the shit out of after that we're done here.
Don't beat dogs. Nobody hurts dogs on this show.
You know what? I might. I love him more than I love anybody in the world, but I'm going to beat the fucking shit out of him.
Okay.
And I was kicking the ball with him and I loaded up and I nailed it. It was awesome. It went really far downfield. And I felt a pop in my fucking hamstring. So like that shit happens. All right.
Yeah, but how old are you?
33.
Yes, that's supposed to happen. Paul Pogba is 28, and he's in the fraction of percent of the greatest athletes in the world. That shouldn't happen. So here is the narrative on Mr. Pogba. No, I'm calling you old.
Well, I'm both.
Here's the narrative on Mr. Pogba. He's out of contract. There's no way in hell that United are going to re-sign him. Raiola is a genius to makes people re-sign people that they don't want somehow. Like they got fucking Ronaldo for some reason. He's on the outs with Ole, but Ole is too weak to not play a star.
He's on the outs with everybody in Manchester.
Paul Scholes has been hammering him. At 30, he literally said, Paul Pogba is just one of those guys who just feels like he has to do a toll roll and try and hold someone off in the middle of the pitch. And he'll be doing it when he's 18 and he'll be doing it when he's 35 and people will just push him and take the ball off him because that's the kind of player he is. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's racist. It's a tinge. I don't think he likes his dyed hair. It is. There's always it's always the uppity African midfielder that people always
you know
attack.
why? Because he's more talented than anybody on the field, and he doesn't give a motherfuck. That's why. And he's only good for France because he's got N'Golo Kante right behind him. And tell me
greatest
that's racist.
African player.
Yeah, tell me that's racist.
Not. But I don't mean it's overt. I don't mean it's conscious. I just think that there is a thing that happens. It's like, oh, there's no scrappy black middle infielders. Right? They're always, he's athletic and he's naturally gifted. Just the language. I mean, it's fine. We don't have to go further into it.
No, we should because the show The League did this. It was a bit, right? They're all comedians. It's Nick Kroll and Steve Ranzizi and Paul Scheer, who, by the way, went to my high school. They had a bit. By the way, most shows from 10 years ago are no longer allowed because half the country hates happiness and hates a fucking sense of humor. But what the joke
Not on this show. We will tackle difficult things like human bias and perception bias and how a weird white pasty English guy might just be biased against an African tall player who's better than he was.
If you're not familiar with the show, it's a show based around a fantasy football league and it's friends and they're goofing around and they always hang out at a bar and they talk shit to each other and they just opine about sports tropes, similar to how you and I do, only they were funnier. And one episode, they're talking about how a white wide receiver is always considered scrappy and he's hungry, right? And he's just like, and a good black player,
Wayne Corbett,
exactly. A good black player is considered a class act. He's a total class act. A Spanish player is a firecracker, right? Like, an Asian player is always studious. So there's there's like 4 or 5. Listen, if you watch sports and you listen to commentators, a Russian hockey player is always an enigma. Why? That's so fucking lazy.
Because they don't speak English.
Exactly. But so there's like 4 or 5 tropes, and I'm serious.
It's really bad.
From like 8 or 9 years ago. It's not bad. It's accurate because these jokes are coming from years of watching sports and sports commentary.
But now it's being taken a lot more seriously now, where they actually do the analysis of the words, and they do know that there is a bias towards these languages.
So we're just calling it dog whistles now? Is that what we're saying?
No. I'm just it just happens. It's not good or bad. It's weird. But Pogba is an asshole. He does stay on the ball too long and do toe rolls and lose the ball because we watch him give up goals because he does toe rolls all the time. So Paul Scholes is not wrong. But it's not because he's under attack all the time. But it gets really weird because then Rio Ferdinand feels like he has to defend him. Then all the French players have to defend him. It's this whole thing of who is a United player and who's allowed to be a United player and who the pundit class takes on. Anyway, my point is Pogba is probably available in January. I was
gonna say, where does he go? Is it PSG? Because there's a bunch of problem children over there. Might as well fuck one more to the group.
Well, PSG, if you think about the way they handle transfers, and I like to juxtapose them against City, they are the Lakers of football.
Yes.
In that they want the star power in that city, and it's player driven. And that's why no one can coach that team. And you're a good coach. You go there, and it looks like everyone just goes, I wonder why you can't get anything out of the player. Well, maybe because the players just go to the owner and say, I don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. And so the coaches have no power, right?
Yeah.
Alex Ferguson couldn't coach that fucking team. They're not coachable because he would go to the owner, Haifa, I think his name is, and say, I don't want to do that. They drove Tuchel out of town. He was fired in the mid-season
for not doing well enough in the Champions League, and then winning
the Champions League. Right? So we have a sense of what's going on there. Pogba going to Paris is probably the likely destination. I'm coming around on Real Madrid. Actually, are well run. It feels weird to say it, but they broke and they're trying to manage their books.
Well, they pivoted at the right time.
yes, getting out of Ronaldo was smart.
Mm-hmm.
They did the right
Spending
thing.
it all on Hazard was questionable.
I forgot about that. So that went badly. Yeah, that's really bad. And I think they got ultimately, yes, they have Bale. It became a problem. I think that deal, when they look back over time, went well. They got 3-4 good years out of him and did great.
Let me stop you there. They got 2 game-winning Champions League final goals from that deal.
Yeah,
that deal was a success.
Right, but they're paying the back end of it. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I hear you. It's like Mark Teixeira, 2012. Not good.
Yes. I'd say he was good. He was really good in 2012, but after that, that went down.
Well, yeah, sorry, my timing's off.
No, you're right.
I forget how long the deal is.
Right. And that's the thing, right? Like teams like Real Madrid, teams like PSG don't appreciate first of all, they don't appreciate success. They don't appreciate winning. They don't appreciate trophies. And their fans are spoiled little baby bitches who expect it to the point where, and I've said it on the show before, to the point where I don't even know why they still do this. Because the only thing they will get is check the box or disappointment. Right? It's so superficial to them. It's so
This, by the way, this is a really good segue into the U.S. men's national team.
No,
because Americans think the team's really good, and it's really just okay. Our best player.
Americans who watch the game think they're shit. Like we know what's up. Americans who watch the women's team go, "Wow, I guess the men's team is probably pretty good too, right?" Nope. But no, hold on. Let me finish my diatribe on Real Madrid. Okay,
we're both grumpy today. We got some good stuff today.
Madrid, it's the international break. We're just angry.
I'm angry.
Madridistas are comfortably, and I'm talking about Yankee fans, I'm talking about Cowboys fans, I'm talking about Laker fans, I'm talking about all of the worst fans you can think of, Eagles fans in America.
Cardinals.
They're up there. You're right.
They're the worst.
They are 10 times worse than a fucking mutant baby of all of the worst fans in the United States, because they sit there and they basically have 2 games that matter in their domestic season against Barcelona, and they expect to win everything. Okay. Now, Yankees fans expect to have success, but we appreciate when we get it and when we win, right? And we hate when the Red Sox win and whatever. Fine. But Zinedine Zidane won the Champions League not once, not twice, 3 times in a fucking row. And then he didn't. And in that 4th season, they're like, get the fuck out. I'm sorry.
Well, he won the league the year they didn't.
Yeah. And they still were like, hey, don't let the door hit you on the ass, pal. Thanks for the
No,
memories.
he walked, though. He walked. He understood.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, he knew it was. But again, there was calling for his job. If you win 3 Champions Leagues in a row, you should be able to walk out onto the field with a shirt and tie and bare ass, dick flopping out for every game you coach for the rest of your career. Because you
also
that's
wait,
a reminder.
You're missing one very important accoutrement that you should be allowed to have, which is a rubber clown head stuck on your dick.
Anything you want. Anything you want.
I just wanted to say that.
Anything you want. You should be able to be pantsless, coaching pantsless as a signal reminder to say, I can do whatever the fuck I want for the rest of my life in this town because I won the biggest trophy in the world 3 times in a row.
And he got that team to play, to be fair. Like
they were a mess when he showed up.
Played really good defense, which was weird. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. There is a weird entitlement, now the one thing is they're not violent as far as we know.
No,
they don't go around killing
complacent.
people.
They're whiny complacent.
Yeah. I don't know. They are interesting, but I do see this weird. What I mean by the U.S. men's national team and Madrid is that they're delusional. Is that people who follow the U.S. men's national team are delusional. They think that we should be playing and have Pep Guardiola as our coach, and that people want that. What people want is what all fans want. What we want is a team that fights and represents the country well, not whether they can play the ball out from the back, right? The best American teams are 3 yards in a cloud of dust, Sam Allardyce type teams.
They're Big Ten football. Yeah.
Yeah, they are, right? Now, the makeup of the team is changing. We do have more players, but to play the high level that people expect us to play, that Berhalter was hired to play because he played that at Columbus. What the fuck does that mean? We're not there, and we can't break teams down. And I have seen, especially the Honduras game, which was incredible, some of the worst football I have ever seen has been played by the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah.
And I mean ever. That I've ever seen.
And you go to San Diego Loyal games.
They're awesome. What, are you kidding? Landon Donovan should be the coach of the national team. He'd be great.
You know what? He might actually be angling for that in a few years. Now that you say it out loud,
he needs an MLS job though.
No, I know, but that's the natural progression, right?
He had the RSL job lined up, and he.
Let me challenge that question. Let me challenge that point. We have Pulisic, we have McKinney, we have Adams, we have Tim Way, we have numerous players playing overseas.
Pepe, people have gone nuts over the
Pepe, sure, but what I'm saying is that we have more. World class is not the term, but worldly players than we ever have before, right? We have players being exposed and challenged and succeeding at very high levels in the best leagues in the world, at very good clubs.
We have squad players who play on European teams.
Okay. That's my point is still valid, though. Understand where we came from, right?
No, I understand that. We have squad players.
Sure, fine. I'm not arguing that. But nonetheless, these are players.
We used to have nothing.
But these are players who can play a cohesive, attractive brand of football. Your Donovans, your Dempseys, your Jermaine Joneses from the yesteryear. These were not, well, Jones maybe a little bit less of a good example, but like these were not players who could play an 11-man cohesive unit and play the game, right? It was counterattacking. It was Burnley.
Yeah.
We were Burnley for 20 years.
But good at it. I think the issue I have that when I look at the national team is a lack of fight and spirit, which is like things that you can do, right? I think Adams has it. McKinney has it. Pulisic definitely has it. He feels the responsibility of the shirt, but they don't as a group. And I like Aronson quite a bit, but I don't. The issue I have is I don't think Berhalter is that good of a coach.
Sure.
I don't think that. I think national team games are tough. I think that there's a lack of street fight in the team, if you will, especially in the context of CONCACAF, where it's all street fight.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Yep.
Right. And
it's almost like, and this is going to sound silly, it's almost like this side in the way that they're trying to play would be better off in
Europe,
trying to qualify
out of Europe, right?
Than they would be in CONCACAF. I get that.
Right.
I get that. But here's the thing. They're not worried about CONCACAF. Should they be? Trinidad and Tobago says they should, but
they should be.
You have to. All right, look, this is not about the 2022 World Cup. It's sort of about the 2026 World Cup, mostly because we're hosting it, but it's about the progression of the U.S. men's national team as a program, right? Klinsmann tried.
He did the right thing.
He did the right thing.
He just wasn't a good coach.
But he put a couple of Band-Aids on the problem. He didn't bring players through. He literally brought in imported replacements. Yeah. So he didn't.
What was that guy's name? Mix Discarud.
Mix Discarud. Yeah, that dude stunk.
Dix Mixcarud.
My point is, he never where he wanted to succeed, which is basically what Germany did after the 2002 World Cup.
Yeah,
right. They had that project 20 years or whatever the fuck they call it.
It worked.
It worked, but it's because it went down to the literal youth levels of football and brought everybody up, right?
We don't do that.
A rising tide.
Oh, well,
floats all boats, right?
We have done a lot. There has been a lot of players.
We have done a lot,
through.
But basically what Jurgen Klinsmann asked to do was what he saw happen and was part of in Germany.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, cool, man. Hey, Germany is the size of half of Florida. We have fucking 50 of those. So it's going to be a little tougher to coordinate.
there is a lot. There is one thing that America doesn't do well, and it is large bureaucracy. We're really shit. Right. We're awful at it.
It's just almost as if it's actually by design. But
yeah, it's almost if it's by design. Right. Like there might be good states, good sections, good teams. You've got a hotbed going on in Texas around FC Dallas. That's where Pepe comes from. You've got a good group. Southern California, where I live here in Chula Vista, San Diego, does a really good job. Does such a good job that half the guys go to Mexico because the Americans don't see it.
And Florida, you've got the IMG Academy. Yeah. Like, it's weird. It's almost like places where you can play this fucking game 365 days a year are better, right?
Like, well, the Europeans play it all year round, and the weather's shit.
But what I'm telling you is in the northern states, they don't go out. They play different shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have a lot of sports. But what we have to talk about is that this is a Mexico game being played in the great state of Ohio, the only place that is either too far or too hostile or too far and hostile to get a
white
or too. Well, there's a lot of Latinos in Ohio, but too something to get a predominantly Mexico crowd into the stadium and make money for the U.S. national team.
So this is going to test that though, because it's in Cincinnati and I believe it's at the Bengals stadium. So it's in an NFL-sized stadium.
It's not in. No, that's not right. It can't.
Oh no, it's not. It's in FC Cincinnati or whatever the fuck they're called.
It's got.
Okay. All right. So I stand corrected. So then
I'm going to check.
Okay. I actually, now that I say that out loud, I think you're actually right. But Columbus is effectively Mecca for U.S. men's national team, U.S. soccer. Right.
It's because this is the home of FC Cincinnati. Yes,
that's right. I apologize. Yeah. Then they should be able to shutter the doors and keep it to have a legitimate home field advantage. Why they haven't been able to replicate that in other places in the country? I'm not asking for the Rose Bowl. I'm not asking for the Meadowlands, but other places when they come to Orlando, that's a small stadium. They should be able to pack it out. It is not. They pack it out. I'm not questioning that. They should be able to pack it out with red, white, and blue, and they don't. But nonetheless, this should be, on paper, a very advantageous game for the U.S. to win. And additionally, now the Mexicans hate, this rivalry is just different, right? It just is relative to most games that these players on either side will play on the club or national level. But if there ever was a U.S.-Mexico game where Mexico is like, it's this one, because
they got a 2-point lead and they're fine.
They're fine. Even if they lose this game, they're fine. However, they're coming off of 2 losses to the U.S. on the bounce. Both resulted in trophies for the U.S. men's national team. That's not going to sit well with them.
No, it matters. They have to win. It's not. There's no. Like we were talking about with the Qatar thing. It's not one of these options where they can take the foot off the gas. Losing to the United States, no matter what and when, for Mexico is bad and a catastrophe.
Yes, you're right.
Like, it's the kind of game that if it's 3-0, the coach gets fired.
Yeah,
it's crazy shit like that, right? Like, Tata Martino's not getting fired, but it's not a joke. Like, it's much more serious in the U.S. And I think one of the things that a lot of the Mexican American pundits, right? Herc Gomez is the one I'm thinking of. Seb Salazar to the lesser extent, is in a way where America needs to go. We need to be outraged at bad results and call for the fucking ball handler's head. And that's starting. I think fundamentally for a national team, that's good. People should be like, we fucking lost. Like, when Liverpool,
it's an important step.
Right. When United lose to Liverpool 5-0, they should want the coach to be fired. This is bigger. This is worth 5 losses in a row. This is my pride. This is me. I identify with this club. I identify as a U.S. citizen of whatever. This is my team. You don't lose this fucking game. Go, and if you are going to lose, take somebody with you.
Yeah. Yes, there it is.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the importance placed on the game, right? Because at the end of the day,
I don't want to draw. Go fucking win that game.
Either of these teams if they lose the first game tomorrow against Mexico or US, and then they win, the US has Honduras afterwards. I don't remember who the Mexicans have, but if they win that game, they're fucking fine. But
well, the whole system is designed for them to go through. The US has Jamaica in Jamaica.
And-
That'll actually be tough.
okay, so I think the Mexicans have Honduras. Nonetheless, the point is that they haven't also ran from CONCACAF.
Mexico has Canada in Canada.
Okay, so let's pivot.
Juicy.
I know you want to talk about our Canadian friends.
Oh baby, I love Canada.
Two massive games for the Canadians. Where are they? Where are they in the CONCACAF table right now?
They're third. They're behind the US.
So they are the last auto bid right now.
They are probably going to get the auto bid.
Who's in 4?
Panama.
Panama's in 4, which means Costa Rica is a little bit further down the chart. They're going to be playing desperate football tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're going to go to Canada in November. That's certainly not a place that Costa Rica likes to play. It reminds of
I'm not sure if it might be indoor for all.
It reminds of the and if our friend of the show Andy is still listening at this point, the Costa Ricans in the snow in Denver, the Clint Dempsey, I think it was 2-0. Oh, that was great. That was
classic.
Awesome. They hated that. Oh,
that was one of those. You know what we don't talk about enough is, and I wonder how it can be quantified, is how much damage did missing the World Cup do to the U.S. men's national team? That's an interesting question to me.
I weirdly don't think much because they were so did missing the World Cup do more damage than going 0-3 at the World Cup, pulling a 98?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Absolutely.
You think getting humiliated on the world stage is better than getting humiliated on your own stage?
Absolutely. Because you get to be at the party. You're not, when you miss the World Cup, you're not even at the party. If you can go to the party and you have 3 shots and throw up and go home, that's fine. But at least you got invited.
One of the things everybody talk about at the party is how you fucking threw up on that.
Yeah, but you're a legend. You're a legend for life.
Oh,
right? You were there.
I don't know. Listen, this is it's bad either way, right? I don't know, and I think we can all agree that if they had backed into the World Cup somehow, that would have probably been the outcome. So that's the problem you need to say. Did it do tremendous damage? Of course it did. But would it have done that much less damage than going 0-3 in humiliating fashion and going home before the fucking knockout stages, like landing before the knockout stages even started? I don't know. Probably more damage, but not as much more damage as it may feel like.
Yeah. I mean, the Canadian team is
let's talk about Canada.
Is playing great. They have the best striker in CONCACAF in David, Jonathan David, who plays at Lille. They have the best midfielder / left back the best player in CONCACAF.
We've talked about him
in Alphonso Davies, and they have the best coach of the whole group.
Tata Martino.
This guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
He was the women's coach for a while.
He was the women's coach. He's a winner.
I remember.
He's out of Sunderland, but he is running the whole thing from top to bottom and getting results. So I heard him interviewed. He was on the Atlantic podcast, and he was just a really impressive guy. Yeah, the Athletic, that one, not the Atlantic. Really impressive guy. Seemed to have the whole thing sorted out. Understood what he wanted to do. He does have John Herdman.
There you go.
He does have 26 in mind, not 22. So not this one, but the next one. But what his challenge is, and it makes sense, is he's trying to get Canada to be unified behind the shirt because they have the diversity problem that we have. They've had great pockets of Italians, great pockets of Serbians, great pockets of Ghanaians, but he's finally getting people behind the shirt. And if Canada is a great country around, and we have to wrap up soon, is a great country around representative sports. Like they get behind their teams. Like if they can somehow translate the love or the energy that is behind hockey, and Olympic sports, and their swimmers and their runners, like if they can get that energy, if they can
have
get
one baseball team,
right? Exactly.
they have a very small amount of hockey teams in the NHL, which sounds ass backwards, but it's the way it is, right? They have 6, I think, Canadian
But
teams.
they have all of the minor league hockey.
Yeah, no, fine. But the point is that they come together, they unify over sport much better than any.
Shit, they'll get behind a
North American
fucking
country.
biathlete who's shooting guns and skiing. Like
Right.
that person becomes famous.
And again, this is where generally in the summer, there's this complete the only thing going on in Canada in the summer is the fucking Blue Jays, right?
Yeah.
So if this World Cup were in the summer, and again, they're going to be a co-host in 2026. So this is effectively, you're right. This is their dress rehearsal. This is their,
they need
let's
to
get your feet wet. You know,
Yeah.
let's see what the world stage actually looks like for these players, get them that experience. And then in 4 years, Jesus Christ, could you imagine what Alphonso Davies is going to look like in 4 years? So
Davies is 21. Jonathan David is 21. Tejan Buchanan, who's part of the record-breaking New England Revolution, is 22. This team is young.
That's what I'm saying.
Kyle Lawrence, the old head, he's 26. They have a bunch of old guys, but they're like the guys who just he's purposefully keeping old guys on the team to give the continuity of the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And if Canada can get behind this team, and I think they can,
they most certainly can.
They don't have the Mexico thing that the U.S. does, and Canada was in the World Cup in '86, and that's the last time. And like they're really on a starvation diet here. They're really, really good. They play as a unit. They are the opposite. I like to hammer on United and Ole because they just make a difference. He has United playing worse than the sum of its parts, and Canada is better than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have seen teams with single outstanding players who play as a unit play really well. So Wales,
that's
with Bale and Alfonso and Bale can be mirrors of each other. Like
they are.
Alfonso can look at Bale and go, "I got this, right? I know what to do here."
Yeah, that's very similar. We made that comparison on the show before. So we're going to take predictions for the U.S. men's national team against Mexico in Cincinnati tomorrow, and then we're going to get the fuck out of here. But Laurent, what do you have?
I want Berhalter to lose and be fired because I like to see the schadenfreude of American fans lose their mind. I see 3-1 to
wow.
Mexico.
Okay.
Because John Brooks didn't play.
Because John Brooks, I have Tyler Adams in the lineup. I have Weston McKennie in the lineup. I have Christian Pulisic in the lineup, who loves a goal against Mexico. I have in Ohio, Dos a Cero, US 2, Mexico 0, which, by the way, Mike's best bets is plus 1,000 right now.
I have a best bet. Are you ready? I'm gonna. I have my bet, but I'll actually bet on my score just to be a pain in the ass. But my super huge bet for the week is Moldova plus 1550 to Scotland.
Why?
Scotland away against Moldova. Why? Because it's Scotland, and Scotland blow it. They've got everyone behind them. They even have a song of Let's Boogie. They're all so close. This is the most Scotland thing to do, is to lose a game away against Moldova with a team that's plus 1550 against them. They can never be favorites.
They've lost never be a boogie.
They lost to the Faroe fucking Islands. They're gonna lose to Moldova. I'm telling you. Put the house on this one.
Do not put the house on it.
Do
put
not
20
put
bucks
the house
on
on this.
Put $20 on it.
Put the dog house on it.
Okay. Well, speaking of dog house, I gotta go beat the shit out of my dog.
Okay, I'm going to go. Here we go. That was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We are the football wing of Das Chop Sports Network, yeah? We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on Apple, please rate and review the show. And if you hate us, please rate and review the show because you could be on it.